Okay, Chris.
Yo.
Serious question. What drives you and what is your inspiration?
I really like
Automotive
DTM
related only.
cars.
I don't want to hear
Yeah.
about your fucking weird shit.
my weird shit.
We're talking about cars.
Weird shit. What are you talking about?
I don't do anything weird.
No, I'm the most normal person you'll ever meet.
It's true.
Fucking boring.
What is your automotive passion, inspiration, and drive come from?
I love DTM cars. To me, those are the epitome of all things awesome. They're fucking fast. They're really low. They're the types of cars that were one of my favorite cars, and which is one of the cars I really want to own, is a Mercedes 190E Evo. And I had a friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If I can, a friend of mine, Mark Coots, he owned one or two of them, and I saw one in person. I think it was gold. And I was like, fuck, that's really cool. I didn't know much about it at the time.
They're smaller than they look on the internet.
They're very small.
In person, they're a tiny car. Yeah. And it's like, that is a car I could get down with.
Yeah. And even looking here, like the Matt's EK and Caitlin's S13, the EK looks bigger than the S13 to me. I don't know if it's a perspective thing.
It's a weird...
It's weird how small S13s actually look when you have another car next to them. Like the Civic right next to it looks ginormous.
Huge. Yeah, new Civic. Well, like that, what is that, a 2005 3 Series is bigger than, or smaller than that Civic. The new Civics are way too big. Why is the Civic so goddamn big?
Trying to add luxury to that.
So DTM cars.
Yeah, because they're super low. They have radius arches. They're just... and all the sparks and
and hitting curbs and no travel, just like
they're just so aggressive. They're like the most aggressive grip racers to me. And then there's like the Australian series, which as I've grown, like I didn't really grow up with cars or watching racing and stuff. I'd see little snippets because when I was getting out of high school was when cable and DSL modems started to become commonplace. So most of my internet knowledge previous to that was on 56K, so doing anything was incredibly difficult and annoying, and it avoided it because it just took too much time. And you couldn't use your phone. And this is when we had flip phones when the smartphones didn't exist yet.
You had phones? I didn't have a phone when I was in high school.
I think I had one.
The internet didn't even exist when I was in high school.
I had one because I was going out a lot, just doing whatever, and I had like a little.
Did you have a sick
Nokia
pager?
No, I never had a pager. I don't sell drugs. I just had a little Nokia phone. It wasn't a Razor or anything. It was just the regular Nokia phone. If anyone grew up in the year 2000, typically had it, and the only game it had on there I think was Snake, and it was like a Game Boy backlit green screen. And if you cracked the screen, it would barely work, and you'd have to remember how all the file. Anyways, so I didn't grow up with a lot of that. So as I grew up, started to watch more and more racing. Like obviously Group B rally is very prominent. Everyone cites that because it's a brilliant, chaotic time of racing in general. Those individuals that drove that were phenomenal, and unfortunately most of them have passed away due to crashes and stuff, and that just sort of is the pedigree of craziness to it. Unfortunately I wasn't one to watch them on a regular basis then, and like vintage F1 with and the noises of it was just I just had an appreciation for a variety of types of cars because they all did different things. There's different noises of cars, different styles, but to me DTM is the full package because they're very fast, they're chaotic, they're super low, the liveries are really cool, and the types of cars that were in that racing series were very different from a lot of the other ones.
They weren't sports car based necessarily. Like it was really cool. DTM was like a sedan based thing, so it's not like it's a sports car as you would think. Like it's not like they're gonna have DTM and have like a 3 Series 2-door or a 350Z or like a sports car. There's no Corvettes in DTM. They're mostly saloon, because they call it saloon car racing in the UK. So it's weird. It's like a family car that's just like ridiculously low, and wheels are in the fenders, and they're dragging on the ground and being hilarious. It's just so cool.
Yeah, it's just so extreme.
And just the way they moved around.
Yeah, that's my inspiration, and why I mean, there were drift cars, and I was fortunate to have some print media from that time. So I imported some magazines from like 2001, 2002. and was very fortunate to see a lot of those types of cars still in print, and eventually then saw videos like Haraguchi in his FC and his lesser known his blue S13 Coupe, which had full livery on it as well. It was really cool. I actually got to meet him at Formula D Seattle one year, and I got to meet my idol and look like a goof. But he drove terrible because the shop that was sponsoring him didn't listen to him or whatever. I don't know what happened, but it was really cool to meet my idol at that time. Mm-hmm. And for drifting, it was more stylistic things. I didn't really... no one really stood out for other than Koguchi, because Koguchi was so wild. Like, all the little snippets of him driving were like, I want to drive like that. That's what I want to drive like. And him dirt dropping it, three-wheeling, or I think it was two-wheeling, because the other wheel came up too, with the infamous Kia Formula kit, was awesome. And the livery was cool. It was, and I learned later on it was more crazy than that, because he moved the motor back a ton, and his dashboard was pushed back as well, and it was a very... I would think it would drive much like your Mango, where it's sort of like a gerbil ball, where you're sort of in the center and it sort of oscillates around you.
Yeah, you don't swing around. You're on the pivot. Yeah.
Pivot. That's a Friends reference, because Ross yells pivot.
Because we're old.
Joey or something.
Yeah, they're moving the couch.
So what's your what drives you? What got you into this? What was your idols as you grew up? You said you like rally racing.
Similar-ish. Rally cars are awesome because they can do anything. Snow, ice, gravel, pavement. I really, really like asphalt cars, just being low and cool, and the way they move around and just slide around, and understeer turns into oversteer. It's pretty interesting watching them transition and move around and squirming under braking. Just cool stuff, and just hero drivers doing hilarious things. And but before rally cars, I fell in love with little cars because my dad had an OG Mini way back when I was like 8 years old, and it was ridiculous and straight piped and smelled like gas, and either was on the ground or really felt like it was on the ground. Remember when pop cans were small? Pop cans weren't 355 millimeter liters; they were like 275 or something. Like this is like 1980s. 1980s pop cans were
I was born in 85. Man.
Pop cans were the same diameter top to bottom. They didn't have the bulge after the caps.
Oh, is that why they call some
they were like straight up and down
Coke cans?
Maybe.
Same long as it is around.
But they didn't used to be as girthy. And I remember back in the day you couldn't roll a pop can under my dad's car.
Okay.
So that was some of my that was definitely a thing. I have like a low car thing ever since then. Like Dad's car was retarded. He wrote it off after I don't even know. It didn't exist for very long, and he crashed it racing some guy in some Monte Carlo or some nonsense. And so little low cars that are stupid and loud have been in my blood for a long time. And then rally cars, the Mini. My brother and I, the original Mango, I found it in an alley one day, walking around, and we wanted to do rallying, and that's why we went and talked a guy into selling us an old Corolla, because we wanted to do rally stuff. So rallying stuff is what essentially brought me here eventually, because I used to just go and rip around on gravel roads and slide around and goof around. But car style, I also bit of a UK connection with my mom's mom and stuff, and have always had a thing with English accents if nothing else. But UK cars are sweet and little, so they also add to the little car thing.
I wish we had more exposure to the UK Ford scene at least, or the Peugeot and stuff. Like
Mark 1 and 2 Escorts.
Their scene was so different than the majority. I mean, if you're into Japanese cars, you idolize Japan stuff, but doing rally and stuff is hot hatches are not a thing anywhere other than the UK, it seems like, or I guess Europe in general. Not too educated about
all the Golfs and all those different versions of small front wheel drive. You want that open?
No, I was just looking at Miles. Hopefully he was, because he only brought the the wheels he drove on, and he drove down here from Ladysmith. And I would like to see him before he goes, but
rolling out.
Fine, whatever.
He seems to be leaving.
Well, Miles is sort of an elusive creature. He doesn't come out very often.
Yeah.
Catch up and stuff. Miles is one of the people that he was the person that got me into driving locally here on the island and introduced me to all the what's now all the OGs here on the island.
Mm-hmm. That's what got you over.
Yeah. Well, him, myself, and Dylan, and Josh were the deadbeats at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, and Chris Groves, and then it changed in 2011. But we can talk about deadbeat summer later.
That's a story for another day, as they say,
or another episode rather, because I'll probably talk about it later.
What inspires you to keep going, to build another car? Like, you have the S13, you have the Cressida, you got the Pupra rocket ship noises. You're gonna put a 2J in the Celica. What is it inside of us that keeps us building stupid cars and keeps us spending money on these stupid things and going out to the garage and swearing and hurting ourselves? And
I don't know.
I sit in my garage staring at junk sometimes, thinking how much I should get rid of it, but then the next day I'm like, nope, I love all this crap.
Nothing really does it for me anymore, I guess. It's like the fabbing portion of it I started to get more into after working with, like I said in one of the other episodes, working on the Supra was what made me want to make more things and just experiment with that sort of stuff. I don't do like much. I mean, comparatively to Warren, it's like insignificant.
Warren is a maniac. But you have a welder, and you have the ability to cut stuff.
I have the abilities to it, and
you can cut stuff and stick stuff together. It opens a whole new window of
the idea
expression.
That you can make something to fix a problem
Yeah.
is huge, because if you just don't have that creative mindset to try to creatively fix a problem, I think that separates people right off the bat, because a person that's creative and problem solving, especially those who have nothing and creatively like when I swapped my motor from my red car to my coupe, I had basic tools out of a toolbox I have, which is my top toolbox, which I carry around everywhere and can't ever find a replacement for it. Had that and an engine hoist, and I was in the cars were bumper to bumper, and I was in mud. So in order to remove and extract the motor from one car, which was sort of had no room, I had to jack the car up, lower the motor down, and then jack the car up even more, and then pull the motor out from under it with its subframe and suspension bits still attached to it, because I was trying to keep it all together. Really, I should have disassembled everything, but whatever. So they dragged that in the snow to the front of the coupe, to which I think I already removed the motor or did it, however I did it. And then I did the exact same thing to the coupe, and I almost got it, but I couldn't push it. I could pull it with swaying motions, but I did require a hand for like 5 minutes to push it underneath the car enough. And the people that got to help me were fucking just took forever, and they're assholes, and they owe me so many favors, but anyway, that's a whole other story. But anyways, I got that there, and then to drag it underneath, I used a come along and dragged it from the tail shaft of the transmission to the rear subframe, and just did that. So a super bogan, just out in the bush monkey.
Yeah.
This was in the snow too. This was snow on the ground, still snowing.
In the winter.
Shittiest word. Like I don't know. I was going stir crazy because I needed to have a car. Because at that point in time, I didn't have a drift car. I had my pickup truck, and that was it. And I had no friends. I had no car friends at this time that were here on the island. I just had mainland friends.
Yeah.
And so I had to do it, and that's the tenacity you have to just get the job done. I mean, it comes with time of doing it correctly and not rushed or anything like that. I definitely knew very little at that time when I did all that stuff, and I mean, I'm 10 years past that now, where I'm like finally fixing all these stupid problems that I created back then. But that's what keeps me going now, is just the teaching new kids and trying to get them into it, and letting them know that there's more than one way to do this, and to not get discouraged, because you're going to have to find your own way. And we have a lot of good success with a lot of these people, because a lot of these kids are actually very willing to listen to their seniors. I mean, I'm not a heck of a lot older than most of them, but
yeah,
they just are awesome to. I've been quite respectful. I mean, there's definitely some guys who are dickheads and shouldn't be here, but a lot of those guys break down and they eventually listen. And we're not telling you have to do it this way. It's like, here's a variety of options you can do here. Find what works for you.
Tires.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
You want to pause for a sec? Looks like she's going to leave because she can't drive.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm going to pause.
Okay, it's probably rambling about...
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Rambling about whatever, I suppose, as usual.
Rambling. So, inspirations to keep going. That's what we were talking about. I think, I don't know, you were saying probably being an adult makes you understand that fixing something right instead of fast is what's good. I will routinely bypass doing something properly to get my car on track. I like to be driving. My car is not built properly or correctly. My car is pretty mashed together, but it works, and it's pretty reliable.
I don't like the stress of doing something last minute. I
don't either.
Minimize the casualty to it.
Yeah.
And then fix it within a week of wrecking it. Mm-hmm. And then that way I'm not worried about it. And usually I forget that I have a thing coming up, and I'll try to remember to check the fluids, for example. Mm-hmm. Because that is more important to, I do maybe one oil change a year.
Yeah. But it's good to know you have enough in there.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm pretty cheap, but I think part of the program that I run and live with, if I wasn't cheap, I would never be able to have done what I've done in the last 5 years. So being a person who doesn't spend money on anything that doesn't need to have money spent on it, I guess, is what has afforded me the ability to go travel and take as much time off work and do the things that I've done. But also being an adult and having an adult type job has helped.
I gotta answer the telephone.
Oh, Jesus!
You're talking about...
Sorry for the interruptions. We're recording this in the parking lot and keep seeing friends and saying hi.
Yeah. It's hard being a rock star.
Where were we?
You were talking about keeping your car together, not built well, but works correctly.
Yeah, my car doesn't... It works most of the time. It's been neglected for a few years, but now I get to work on it. I try to spend an hour a night, or every once in a while a couple hours a night, working on it, because I have my engine out, getting rebuilt. Doing things right now, but I'm doing my engine the cheapest way possible. I honed it and have new rings and a new head gasket, and basically everything else is just getting cleaned and reused and put back together. The bearings look beautiful. The engine that I'm rebuilding is not the engine that was in the race car. It looked a little worse for wear bottom end wise versus the other block that I have, which is not an importer engine. It came out of a running car in Canada, so it's in a lot less
disheveled
stagnation, whatever you want to call it. It didn't sit in a Japanese wrecking yard under 10 feet of water for 10 years, like the one that came out of my car with the weird... Did you see the rust on the bores? Did you see those pictures? Not the rust on the bores, but it looked like basically the cylinder bore had a ring fused to it, all four cylinders, and the one was so bad that you could see the raised and lowered portions in the wall.
I honestly think
but
that's
you could
what
really
all my
feel
look
it
like inside.
I feel like that's what they all look like inside too, if it's sat for any amount of time. Like SR20s, you wonder why they blow up, because they look at this. But SR's aluminum block.
That's a different thing, though.
Is it SR an aluminum block?
Yeah, it's aluminum block in the head.
Yeah, whereas mine is a steel block still. So, but it is bizarre. The pattern from the oil control rings is etched into the cylinder wall in the one. You can actually see it. It's amazing. But yeah, I'm making a real cheap engine to try and get through this season, get to final bout, do some things, have some fun.
Are you going to final bout?
Yeah.
No, you show me.
It's pretty awesome though.
When is that? May?
End of May. I'm surprised that engine
flying or driving the whole way?
I'm driving. I will probably end up going to Portland, meeting everybody, and then cruising from there. Depends how things work.
Want to go.
Get a plane ticket. You can be Chelsea's chaperone. She's flying, because driving in that state's probably not a good idea, because she'll be 7 months. We'll be stopping to pee every half hour, whereas you need to stop once every 4 hours to make it anywhere on that trip, because it's so goddamn long.
Are you driving this thing now?
Yeah.
Who's here? Like, in the passenger seat?
Nobody. I don't know the whole situation yet, but you are welcome to a passenger seat.
I haven't done a long
Now we're arranging travel plans.
I haven't gone. I don't think there's going to be any more. I have my own feelings about Final Bout and other factions of that nature, but I still think they're a positive entity for people to go to.
Yeah.
I feel the difference of...
I'm going to stop this one and we're going to go do a thing.